Career and Self-Improvement webinars. My name is Carrie Keller, and I'm the Graduate Assistant here in the William Patterson Alumni Office. Before I introduce our presenter, I'd like to go over how this webinar will work. First of all, you will be able to view the presentation on your computer screen. You will also be able to hear the presentation through your computer's audio system. Please feel free to ask questions by typing them in. We will be monitoring your questions and stop occasionally to answer all of the questions. Any questions not answered in today's webinar will be addressed after the webinar is completed, and all attendees will receive the questions and answers along with a certificate of completion after the webinar is done. And we actually already have a question today, but we can tell you that it will be answered during the presentation, so get excited. And now I'd like to introduce today's speaker. Kurt Gruby is a graduate of William Patterson University with degrees in both political science, summa cum laude, and global business. He is currently a project executive at the IBM Corporation, where he has worked since 1979. Kurt has a varied background. He has appeared on the Fox News Network, The O'Reilly Factor, where he provided commentary regarding President Clinton and the Monica Lewinsky matter. Kurt decided to embark on a part-time acting career as a lark in 2012, and since then has appeared on numerous primetime television shows, HBO and Cinemax pilots, and feature films including Law & Order, SVU, Blue Bloods, The Money, The Michael J. Fox Show, Trending Down, The Mend, and Nurse Jackie, and The Good Wife. He has been in scenes with Nathan Lane, Tom Selleck, Juliana Margulies, Clive Owen, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Kevin Bacon, and Edie Falco, among others. In addition to acting, Kurt had his first book published in 2012 called Please Don't Die, But If You Do, What Do I Do Next?, which is a practical guide for estate executors. He's been married for over 30 years and has 2 grown children. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Kurt Gruby, presenting How to Break Into Acting Without Really Trying.
Thanks, Carrie. I really appreciate that intro. It sounded really good. I'm going to have my wife listen to this because she never believed that I did all that stuff. So thanks a lot. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And it really, truly is a pleasure coming back to William Patterson and presenting. So anyway, why don't we just jump right in and go over to the next slide. There we go. And I apologize for my lack of, ahead of time, my lack of Apple technology. I work IBM, Windows, that kind of stuff. So anyway, as far as what I wanted to do today is go over the agenda. But first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for the time. I really appreciate you being here. And I hope what I have to present is interesting. Obviously, feel free to stop, ask questions. Carrie, we'll pick them up off the webinar, and we can kind of make this interactive as we go forward. But we will have time for a Q&A at the end, I promise you, and we'll do that too. So what I thought I'd cover today is a quick intro about my background, how I got started in the profession. I'll take you through how you can get started in acting as an extra or a background actor or a background artist, as we like to call ourselves. And it might be a lot easier than you might have thought. And the good part about acting, I want to go through, is that it is a lot of fun, and you'll hear me on that theme through the whole presentation, but there are some downsides, and there's some pretty ugly parts of acting too. There's lots of nice people, but like in any profession, there's some not so nice people, downright jerks also. We'll talk about some of the myths out there, the magic of movies, if you will, and I use lights, camera, action. You know, you've all heard lights, camera, action. Well, nobody says that anymore, so that's a myth. The pick me part of the agenda is always something that struck me when being on set or a location. It was like I was transported back to the schoolyard where captains were picking dodgeball teams, and I'd be there like, pick me, and I kind of feel the same way when there's a role available or on set and they need somebody to feature. And then I thought it might be worthwhile to touch on how the Screen Actors Guild works. That's the union for actors. And some people say that it's a good idea to join SAG. Some people say not. It is always a discussion on every set that I'm on. So I just wanted to touch on that briefly in the end. and then I'll do a quick wrap. And like I said, we'll have time for questions at the end. Now, if we could take a moment for a disclaimer, there are two distinct categories of actors on TVs and movie sets. The first categories are the principal actors, and those are people whose names you know, like Will Smith and Angelina Jolie, other folks whose names you might not know, but they have speaking roles. You see them and you go, oh yeah, I know that guy. You know, I've seen him on so-and-so. And then the other category of folks or actors that are on a set are people like me who do background work. We're the people who are walking on the street, through a hotel lobby, we're sitting in an audience, we don't speak, but we work right next to the big name A-list people on the same set at the same time, but you see us for a couple minutes and then we're gone. And that's the type of acting that I'm talking about today. We're an integral part of the scene, but you don't need to have the same amount of talent, training, and perseverance, and all the other things that these principal actors do. And the disclaimer is that I'm not suggesting that background work is the same as principal acting, but many, if not all, the principal actors started their careers doing as background actors or as extras. So anyway, that said, let me give it a shot in going to the next slide. And I see we have a question.
We have a few questions, but this question actually talks to what you were just speaking about. Somebody wrote, I've heard that a lot of casting directors look down upon background work and extra work. Should extra work be put on a resume if someone's looking for a major role?
Everything that I've read about casting directors, and we'll get into a little bit about how casting networks work, and you can see actual casting directors who they pick, they're all looking for people who have worked in background, because the background people know how sets work. They know, or they learn how the production works. They learn the lingo. They know what it's like to be in the profession. And literally, you are starting from the bottom up. So no, in my opinion, and from all the literature I've read, that it is not a bad idea to start as a background actor or extra. Actually, it's a good idea. Everything that I've read to start as a background actor or extra. Think about it. Brad Pitt didn't start as a leading man just saying, hey, I'm Brad Pitt, and I graduated with a BFA. I want to be a leading man in a feature film. It just doesn't work that way.
Great.
So by way of introduction, let's turn the page, and I'll just touch on this real briefly because Carrie did. But that's me, the guy with his hand in his pockets, the old fat guy. I'm a recent grad, William Patterson, believe it or not, but like I said, I'm pretty old. I started college in 1977, finally graduated in 2013, which means I wasn't on the 5-year plan. I was more like on the 35-year plan. I earned my first degree in 2010 in poli-sci, 2013 in global business. Why did I go back to school? Only reason was my son graduated high school. He went to William Patterson. Figured somebody had to keep an eye on him or he'd be on the 35-year plan just like me. So what I was doing was taking a couple classes here and there. Long story short, I enjoyed it so much, I just kept going, and he and I both graduated together in 2013 with a global business degree. Anyway, my day job is as a project executive at IBM. I've worked there for over 30 years. I'm still working there now. I'm playing hooky for a little bit doing this presentation today. Started acting a couple of years ago. Those are the shows you've seen, you've heard them. And I love dropping names, so I've worked with actors like Nathan Lane, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Tom Selleck, Michael J. Fox. So I've been able to see how those people work, how they approach a role, and what they do. And again, giving a plug to, yes, being a background actor or extra on a scene, you get to see how the principal actors work, what they have to do to prepare, and how they behave, if you will, in the profession. I got to put in a plug for student films. I've done student films as a principal actor. Great learning experience, and a good way to get your feet wet. Anyway, all told, at the end of last year, I worked about 3 days a week in acting and made some money doing it. I met a lot of great people, and I had a lot of fun. Anyway, the point I wanted to make here is, all that stuff aside, I'm just an ordinary guy, no special training, no special talent. And as you can see, I'm pretty ordinary looking. I just had the desire to have some fun, see what it was like, and I've had some success doing it. I'm under no illusion that at any time I'm going to be a leading man in a film. I'm a background actor. My qualifications are I show up on time and I do what the director tells me to do. Going back to those people, though, who are pursuing or have their BFAs or MFAs, absolute great place to start. I'd say that 90% of the people that I work with in background have their fine arts degrees already. They use background acting just to pay the rent and learn what's going on. And it's like any line of work that you're in, the contacts and connections that you make, they'll greatly help you move upwards in your chosen profession. So that's another plug for background acting. Anyway, enough about me.
I just want to say one thing. Somebody else wrote, is it worth going the movie extra route? And you just kind of answered it.
No question.
Totally worth it.
Absolutely. And I didn't make that key point before, but I did it in the intro. 90% literally of the people that I work with in background have their BFAs or MFAs, and they believe that this is their this is a gateway, into acting. So how did I get started? Keep in mind, up to a couple years ago, knew nothing about acting, didn't know how it worked. I'm sitting at home one day on a Saturday, all alone with the dog. My daughter calls me up and says, "Hey, Dad, there's something going on at the local deli. There's some kind of production. Why don't you go check it out?" So I pack the dog up in the car. We go park. I walk up to the set with the dog, and you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on. I talk to a couple of guys with the headphones and say, "Hey, what's up?" And they go, "Well, we're shooting a Pepsi commercial." And that could be them now. They said they're shooting a Pepsi commercial. And I go, "Oh, can I get on it?" And they go, "Yeah, right. Get off the set and take your dog with you." So both of us are tail between our legs. I get back in the car. I'm driving home, and I'm listening to News Radio 88 at the time. Again, I'm old. I don't listen to music. I listen to News Radio 88. And coincidentally, they're talking about how to get into acting. They did a news spot on it. And if you want to learn more, come to the News Radio website, and we give you links to the different casting companies. I did that. I checked it out, through the web to see if they were legit, see if it would cost me anything. It didn't. So it seemed legit. I signed up, went to their offices, had a headshot taken, did the orientation, and I was literally on the set of Blue Bloods within 2 weeks from my daughter calling to that. So that's how easy it was. That's how quickly it got done. So why don't we go to the next couple of charts, and I'll give you a little bit more detail about how to do it. So first thing you want to do is register with a casting company. Central Casting is like the gold standard, and they're kind of like a clearinghouse with the other casting companies. Production companies go through Central Casting, who ends up being a funnel for other casting organizations to get people. For the mechanics of it, go to their website, register. You'll need to physically go there. Their offices are on 31st Street, right by Penn Station, so it's easy in, easy out. When you're there, they'll ask you to fill out some forms, but it's all legit. The legal forms like W-9s, W-4s, and just as an aside, you're doing W-9s and W-4s because for that day that you're on set, for that shoot, you become an employee of the production company. You're not an independent contractor. You're not going to get a 1099. Sometimes you get cash, sometimes you do that, but the majority of the time you're an employee of the production company for that day. Totally legit is the point that I want to make. They'll ask you other personal stuff like your height and weight. They'll ask you what kind of talents you have that are special, like archery, horseback riding, juggling, do you speak any different languages. They'll also ask you what kind of environment you're comfortable acting in. Some people don't want to act if there's someone smoking on set. So they ask you that. And they'll ask you if you'll, work with animals, and they'll also ask if you're willing to do nudity. And of course, I checked yes for the partial nudity question and showed my wife to try and get a rise out of her. And she said, go for it. If people want to see some old fat guy with hair all over his back without any clothes, more power to him. After that's done, you get about a 45-minute orientation about what background acting is, what to expect, how the process works, how to get paid, all that good stuff. Then they will impress upon you the two most important qualities of a background actor, and they are, number one, show up to the set on time. And the second most important quality of a background actor is to show up on the set on time. They really, really can't stress that enough. And if it's true, if you're late, they hold production up for you. Even if there's 50 people on set and you're one of 50, they will hold it up for you because they believe that they need that number of people for a scene with those looks for them to sell the scene to their audience. So they will hold up production. So you're holding up principal actors, you're holding up production company, you're holding up all background, maybe 200 people all told, just because you're late. So get to work on time, and they will tell you that. They will also take a headshot of you, and that's just nothing more than a picture of you from the waist up that they put in the database so the casting directors can get a look or what you look like. About a week later, you'll get a user ID. You set up your online profile and start submitting for roles. And I'll kind of go through that later, and it's covered in the orientation, and bang, away you go. Just to touch on some of the other casting companies, Sylvia Fay I'm with, Amerifilm Casting, Grant Wilfley, but again, they also act as a clearinghouse with Central Casting, so go to that one first. And one other key point, and then we have a question, is all of these are no cost. You haven't spent a dime yet, other than the train ticket going into the city to get registered with a casting company. There are some premium memberships you can have. I have one, it's $6 a month, and all that allows me to do is put other pictures in the database that I can choose for different roles. And like, $6 a month, it's definitely worth it. And why don't we go to the question in the queue?
This is a combined question. You just basically answered the whole thing for the one about, is it just a sign up, and do you want resumes and headshots? You really just answered all that information. And I think you also answered, this person also wants to know about agents. Are they important to get right off the bat, or do you want to build up a resume? But you're saying you register with a casting company. Am I correct?
Yes, but that's an agent is an excellent question, and it's something that I really don't touch on here. I do not have an agent, and as Carrie and I were talking, before we started, I worked 3 days out of every week in the last quarter of last year. So I got more than enough work as a background actor without an agent. You don't need an agent for background. However, you are going to want to work commercials, which pay a heck of a lot more. You're also going to want to work student films. You also are going to want to look at principal or featured roles as background or a principal actor. And yes, in order to get that, you really need an agent. I can't give you any of my personal experience in getting an agent, but once you go to Central Casting, there's different seminars you can take. There's different information and literature on how to get an agent. So I would suggest that you do that. Net, for background, don't need an agent. You want to do commercials and make some extra money? Yes. You want to do speaking roles, or you want to be featured? Yes, definitely go for an agent.
And as an extra, have you personally ever had to meet with casting directors and do an audition?
Absolutely, done plenty of auditions. Oh yeah. And that's, I'll talk about it later, but that's the rejection piece. And you really have to have a very thick skin, because you're going in for an audition. You probably get 2 to 3 minutes of time, and then somebody else comes in. You have to memorize your lines. You have to deliver them. You have to be in character. Someone who is not a professional, not professionally trained, it just gives me that much more respect for those people who have gone through the education, who have the talent to do that. It is not easy at all being an actor. And from auditions, I've probably gone to about 15 or 20. I've gotten 2 roles, and I know I've been terrible. So, but those are speaking. Those are speaking roles. It's tough. It's tough being an actor. I don't care what anybody says. Let's jump to the next one. Being from IBM and being in IT for so many years, and I noticed one of my IBM friends is out there in the audience. Couldn't help, shout out to Art. Shout out, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist but doing a flow chart. But here's basically how it works. There's a TV show or production out there that's doing a restaurant scene. They need different types of background actors. They need restaurant patrons, wait staff, bartenders, anything that you would need in a restaurant. Some young people, some old people, different ethnicities, men, women. So the production company goes to the casting company with a list of what they need. I need 10 people, business look, between 45 and 55, any ethnicity, to play restaurant patrons at a gala event. So if you see that, and if you fit that role, actually before you see it, if you fit that role and you set it up in your profile, you'll get an email push from the casting company. You fit the criteria. Do you want to submit for this role if you're available? If you do, you submit the info, you submit your picture for that role, casting director sees it, they pick the 10 people that they want. With the look that they want, the casting director will give you a call and say, are you available? Are you still available for this role on this day? You say yes, you're booked. They're going to give you a check-in number and you are booked. Once you get that check-in number, and that's very important, you are booked for that role And you'll find out later within the next couple of days where it's going to shoot and what time you have to be on set, your call time. But again, once you get that check-in number, bang, you're booked. And the next couple of slides I'm going to go through pretty quickly. Obviously, stop me, any questions. But I wanted to show you the screenshots of the actual database, how it works, how you get cast, and how you submit for roles. And point is not rocket science. So the top one, you can see that it's elementary as the production, and that's the one that stars Lucy Liu. I'm name dropping again. And they're casting for a particular look. If I think that I have that look, I'm going to click on that link that's in the role. And then that takes me to another screen in the database, and that's the panel that's below. And like I said, if I think that I have it, I click on the submit button. My information goes directly to the casting director and the casting company, along with all the other people in the database that think they have the same look. And they funnel that down to the 10 people that they need for that particular role. And they'll, if they can use you, they'll give you a call and give you your check-in number, and you're confirmed. And next slide, just to give one more piece of info on casting networks and in your profile. You'll see that this is my profile. It selected for me principal roles that I fit, extra roles that I fit, but also on the right-hand side, and you don't have to use them. You can see the resources for photographers, coaches, directories. They're logged into Twitter so you can share experiences. So all that good stuff is in casting networks, and it's all legitimate. They're again, they're the gold standard for casting. So that's the one-stop shopping for resources. And we have another question.
This may be one of the one-stop shopping, but have you ever used Backstage.com or Actors Access as ways to get roles?
Yes, and on the last slide you'll see some resource links. And yes, I have used them also. No problem using them. They're legit. Go for it. I don't want to, and that's a good comment too. I don't want to lock everyone into casting networks. Just probably the easiest way that I went about it, but absolutely sign up with all the other casting companies. Go on Facebook, go on Twitter, anywhere you can get roles. Me personally, because I have a regular full-time job, actually, I have other work that I do that's paying the rent. I can't work every day as a background actor, so I don't necessarily go to all those sites to try and get work, but for sure, shake the bushes and register with those other companies.
Can I ask one more thing?
Yes.
Someone wants to know about starting your, quote, acting resume if you have no professional experience. Like, is a resume as important as just signing up with a casting agency, or how do you?
Another excellent question. Resume is very important. After this, if everybody sends their emails or whatever, I will send a copy of a sample resume, my sample resume. It is important you put down, because I'm new, just starting, let's say I just started out of school, most of my work is this background, but at least it shows that I've done work over time. I've been on sets, I've met production people. Some absolutely remember me because I've been on different shows 9, 10, 11, 12 times. So that resume piece, even though it's sparse and it's only background and student films, you get to show that you've been out there, you've been paying your dues a little bit. So
should you hesitate to do a resume unless you have some background roles first?
No, I would do it. Can't hurt.
Do it with roles at the university or something?
Absolutely, okay. Yeah. Oh, they absolutely love that.
Okay.
Absolutely. I was watching on Channel 22 the other night. I can't remember the name of the show, but there were major production person, major director. They couldn't stress enough student films, acting in student films, and being in school and working on student productions is really big time, and they look for folks like that. They were there once themselves. I mean, you got to keep that in mind, and a lot of them like to do the payback, which is helping other people get their foot in the door.
And someone just wrote their email. We have all your emails, so we'll send you the sample resume. We have everyone's email who signed up. Good.
Yep, we'll send it out. So let's jump to another part in the agenda. What's fun, what's not so fun, and what I found to be a little bit lousy in acting. And we'll go to the next screen. So what's the good part? Hey man, you're on TV. A lot of things that people like is to see themselves on TV and spending a lot of time around big name actors. Trust me, it definitely wears off. but it's definitely a kick for the first time you see yourself on the screen. And then what you do is screen scrape it and you post it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all over the place. You send emails to your friends. Look at me, I was on TV. That's really fun. But going back to what I was talking about before, using background to make contacts, the two folks you see in the picture on the lower left, they're kind of featured. That's Wendell Pierce, who's a Juilliard trained actor, and Anna Niguria, who has her BFA and multiple theater awards, and Michael J. Fox is there too. But the point I want to make is Wendell and Anna stayed after the wrap. We were just talking to them. They were cracking jokes. People were asking, how do you do this? How do you do that? So you're able to pick the brains of some people who have made it in the industry and who have, are at the epitome of being trained in the industry. I mean, Juilliard only accepts, I think, 16 or 20 people a year into their program, and he's a Juilliard trained actor. So you get to meet those people on set. And they really are the best talent in the industry that you're working with. I keep reminding my friends and family that Robert De Niro is a coworker of mine. You also get to see a lot of different parts of the city. That's fun. Shoots in all the boroughs. I've been in homes and mansions on the Upper East Side. And I've also been in the seediest neighborhoods in Bedford-Stuyvesant. But it's cool because you kind of get to see a lot of the city that you wouldn't see. And there's always safety in numbers. So, if you're in a seedy part of town, there's about 200 of you. So nobody's going to mess with you. And when you're on set, you really get to see the magic of movies. One Cinemax pilot I'm on called The Nick, they built in an old factory a huge hotel lobby and an operating room theater in one of these factories in Brooklyn. And yeah, what's the big deal? Well, when you walk into that hotel lobby that they built inside a factory, 10 minutes later, you forget where you are. You are absolutely transformed and transported back into 1900 where it's set, and you forget where you are. You literally do forget where you are. It was late in the evening, but there was sunlight coming through the windows, and I'm figuring, it's got to be only about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, that's fake light coming in through fake windows inside of a factory, but you don't get it just because it's the magic of movies. You are absolutely transformed. Let's talk about a little more good. If I can find out how to turn the page. Here we go. Hair and makeup. We were talking about before we started. Everybody gets hair and makeup. You're sitting in a director's chair. Women, they're getting their hair blown out. They're getting their hair styled. Same thing with guys. They're getting haircuts maybe. Definitely getting styled. They're putting foundation and concealer on, and they do that with me, and I feel like $1 million because they put the little piece of paper over my collar so makeup doesn't get on it. Anyway, the point of that is you just feel like $1 million when you have somebody else styling you and somebody else putting makeup on you. And every time you get up, they say, you look absolutely fabulous. And they mean it. And wow, what a rush. You're on top of the world when they do that. And these stylists and the makeup artists and the wardrobe artists, it's not one set that's doing background and one set that's doing principal actors. They're the ones that are doing everybody. So the person that's doing makeup on a Robert De Niro may be the same one that's doing makeup on you on the same shoot. They're very particular, including wardrobe, about how you look because they want you to look your best because you are a reflection on the work that they do. And hey, let's face it, they're all shooting for Emmys and Oscars and they give them out for makeup and wardrobe. I talked about another great part is meeting all kinds of different people who are on sets, and it goes to the question, is background acting worth it? Absolutely. Because as a group, you kind of learn what's going on, what casting directors are looking, what roles they're looking for, how to get in touch with them outside the process, so that you can't beat that. And another piece in lower right, it kind of shows it. Now, a little bit for background, I'm a product of Catholic schools. No modesty in acting. I'm on my first set. We do the first scene. We go back into holding, which is an area that, between scenes you hang out in. The director says, okay, change into your second look, put another suit on. Lady next to me lifts up her dress, takes it off, puts another dress on. I'm sitting right next to her, and I'm looking at her, mouth open, and she goes, honey, there is no modesty in acting. And again, Catholic school, I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, it took me about 2 or 3 shoots to take my shirt and pants off right next to anybody who I wanted to, because nobody really cares. There are curtains and screens, for those folks who don't want to get changed in front of everybody else. Nobody really does that. Boys and girls together changing clothes, who cares? What's the big deal? Now, for the absolute best part about acting, it's the food. And this is coming from someone who just auditioned for an overweight guy in a student film. Catering is spectacular on every single set that I've been on. Breakfast is fruit, cereal, bacon, eggs, Taylor ham, egg, and cheese, eggs Benedict, and there's always 2 guys making omelets to order, waffles, blintzes, I can't leave them out. Just fantastic. Coffee is better than any Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts you ever had, or any diner. Lunch more the same. Usually it's a theme, like Mexican one day, Asian fusion another day, All American another day. Once I remember we had seared ahi tuna, and a guy just slicing them up. Prime rib, just slicing it up. You cannot beat the food. It's almost worth it just going on these scenes just to get the food. Oh, and one last thing about food, and then we have another question. There's always snacks on set, so craft services has them. Nuts, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, fruit, candy, and like I said, that's craft services, or known as crafty in the business. First time I'm gonna shoot, people are looking for crafty. I'm wondering, who the heck is crafty? Crafty is craft services. That's the snacks. And yes, we have another question.
3 questions. You mentioned networking with other actors. Is it possible to go and network in maybe at events with casting directors? Have you ever done anything like that?
I've never done that, but I know that they are available. I'll dig it up after, when we send the literature out to everybody. There are different social events with casting directors and production people and actors. They're like mixers. You pay $10, you get free hors d'oeuvres and free soft drinks, paid bar kind of thing. But yes, they are absolutely out there. So I'll dig them up. They just don't come to mind right now.
And the next question is, you're talking about film and TV. Is the process kind of the same if you want to be an actress or actor on stage?
Yes, theater works the same way. They're through casting networks. There are theater gigs. It's a little bit of a different process because theater is more limited. But yes, they do post for theater roles through casting networks and some of the others. Theater is more difficult, though.
Okay.
Yep, there is a distinction.
Now, 2 more quick ones. How long do you spend on set? This person knows that it's a different, for every occasion, but...
We will cover that in another...
Okay.
There is a little section on that, and that's a dynamite question because it's not what you might think.
And the last one is maybe an urban legend, I don't know. I've heard that you can get extra work quicker if you're able to provide some of your own props and materials, like personal vehicles or scrubs or anything. Is there truth to that?
Absolutely. Or a dog, or something that they're looking for a particular shoot that they don't want to necessarily have to carry in the production trucks and that you can provide. Yep, definitely. Let's jump over, and I cover a little bit of that also. Let's do the bad. So the bad is the lines. Think about it. You got like 75 people. They're in suits, let's say, but they need props. They need briefcases, and this is the stuff you're not allowed to bring on set that they want to supply you. Briefcases, watches, canes, plastic bags sometimes, junk sometimes, but they feel that they want you to carry this in order to sell a scene. So you have to go over to the prop truck. You have to give up your license once you get the prop. They have to look at you to see your look, to see what fits with your look, what type of prop. And then when the shoot is over, you have to deprop. So you got to go in this line again. Get your license back in, the prop back in. So the lines, they just stink. Same for lunch. You have a lot of people. They're extraordinarily efficient. These catering companies have been doing it for years, but you got the production people, you have the principal actors, some of them that eat with you, and you have all the background. So the lines can get long at lunch too. As you can tell, food plays a big part in all that I do. And as a background actor, quite frankly, you are at the back of the line. First is principal actors. Second is the production crew. Third is union actors. So that's a perk if you're a SAG member. And then last is background. You're not treated as a second-class citizen, so I don't want anybody to get that idea. It's just that that's the way it is, and everybody knows it. Nobody's a jerk about it either. Another downside is holding. If you look on the lower left, holding is just a big area where you're waiting around to be called onto set, And sometimes you're just hanging there for hours if you're not in a particular scene that they're shooting. Sometimes it's unbearably hot, sometimes it's unbearably cold, and it's always unbearably boring. Everybody brings books, computer, Kindle, iPhone, earbuds, anything to do to pass the time. Holding is also where you get changed. So like I said, boys and girls all together. Another not so fun part about acting is ND work, nondescript work. And that's the picture on the right-hand side there, through the Kia window. They'll ask for ND, nondescript pedestrians, and those are just people that are walking back and forth on a city street. Don't think that when they're doing a production, those are just regular people walking back and forth. They're not. Those are all actors, background actors, sorry, that are walking back and forth. But it just stinks. Might be okay in the spring and the fall, but in winter and in the hot summer, it ain't fun doing ND work, nondescript work, and doing exteriors. So, but you get past it. And quite frankly, I won't even submit for nondescript or exterior work anymore, just because I know the ropes now. Glad I did it, but won't do it anymore. I've progressed, I guess. And one last thing that's not so fun is the call times. You might find out at 10 o'clock at night. That's pretty good, speaking of call.
Perfect timing, both times.
But that's not fun. You may find out 10 o'clock at night for a shoot tomorrow that you have to report at 5:30 in the morning to Greenpoint, Brooklyn. So sometimes early, sometimes very late, but what are you gonna do? So more of the bad parts, and we were talking about hours on set and the pay. Not all that great. Put a little spreadsheet together. I keep track of all my stuff. I worked four days out of a week back in December. You can see the pay is not that great, and the hours are, that's about average for being on a set, about 12 and a half hours. I only made about $300 after taxes, and subtracting my expenses, for 40 hours I made $125. So I net about $7 an hour. It's better than the minimum wage, but not all that much. So the net of this is you're looking at about 12 and a half hours being on set, then add an hour for lunch, that's 13 and a half hours, then add another hour or so for your travel. You may be, all told, about 16 hours for a particular shoot. And you ain't going to get rich doing it, that's for sure. And one other thing is the exteriors. That's Eve Hewson, again dropping names. She's Bono's daughter. So in the wintertime, she's doing exteriors, legs exposed, freezing cold, that's fake snow under her feet. We were all freezing because those are 1900 shoes. There's like no soles to them. And then on the left-hand side, it was one of those days during the summer that was 100 degrees. She's in a big wool costume, just like all of us. And we got dust blowing on set, fake smoke blowing on set. So exteriors ain't all that fun. So one more pitch for not doing exteriors. Mm-hmm. So the ugly part. Talking about auditioning, the rejection. It's not fun not to get the part. Or even if you're on set and you have the part as a background actor, they're doing a wedding scene, they sit you in the last pew, and nobody's ever going to see you. I want to make the point in the picture in the lower right. I was in a scene with Josh Lucas. I thought that was great. So I drew a little arrow to Josh, and I drew a little arrow to me. You can't see me. And I'm sitting right next to the guy. I'm looking over at him while he's talking, and he's looking right over at me. You don't even know who that is. I am the potted plant on the set. So that's kind of the ugly part of it too. That stinks. And I thought that was my big break. What are you going to do? Production assistants can also be one of the worst parts of being on set, or they can be the best. The PAs are going to be the ones that set you up in a particular scene. They're going to determine if you're going to be seen on camera or not, and how long you're going to be seen. And people who are wanting to break in, they want to be seen on camera. I mean, it's not just you're walking back and forth. They need you to do inflections, your face, your mannerisms, that kind of stuff. And the PAs know that, and they do hold some power over people. And they can be pretty nasty to the point where people have walked off set with a take this job and shove it attitude. And we were talking about Nurse Jackie before. The PA on Nurse Jackie, I'll never forget him. He stood up and he said, "You all will listen to me, because if you don't, I will bury you and you'll never be seen on camera." And he was serious. And I thought that was one of the that was really ugly. That was one of the lousiest things that I've seen on set.
Cry.
Um, Two other key points. The bathrooms are always a mess. So look for, there's a way around it, look for or ask the PA where the honey truck is. And that's the shot in the upper left. There's a big tractor trailer and it drags bathrooms. Those are a well-kept secret. They're always clean. They're always bright. And just so you know, the men's room is Lucy and the ladies' room is Ricky. There's no men and ladies' rooms. Nobody knows that. And one last thing is don't ever make suggestions to the director on set. I did it once and I thought I was never going to work again. It was a business scene. I worked for IBM. 30 years. I thought I knew business. So I made a suggestion as to how to end a particular scene. And the PA just dragged me away to get me away from the director. I thought he was going to hit me. So don't ever make suggestions. If you do want to make a suggestion, though, get the PA and say, hey, what do you think? And they'll go to the director if they think it's worthwhile. So let's jump over to the next one. And sorry for the delay. I'm having a tough time with.
Just a quick question. We were talking about this earlier. Someone wants to know if you are responsible for getting yourselves to the shooting locations, or whether production provide transportation. And you answered this to us before.
Yes, another good question. The answer is all of the above. So you can be responsible most times for getting to a shoot in Manhattan. They will assume that you live in Manhattan and you can take the subway system to get there. However, if it's an early morning shoot, if it's a shoot in the outer boroughs, if it's a shoot outside the outer boroughs, they usually provide a van service from a central point. Meet us at 31st Street at 5:30 in the morning, and they'll take you up to set. And I don't want you to get the misnomer. You know, the van service is a small little, scrunchy van that comes and piles in people. It is a custom bus that takes you. It's absolutely fantastic if you're going to get the van service to a set. So it's all of the above.
Okay, I think we're gonna not ask as many questions now because it's 1:45.
Oh,
so
I'll start. I'll start.
Want to get the presentation.
I'll start rapping. So some of the myths that are on set: lights, camera, action. Nobody says that anymore. Lights is it's a throwback to the old days when lights were big, hot, took a lot of energy, so they had to turn them off, turn them on. They want to save energy. They didn't want to heat to the set. They're always on now. Camera, same thing. Used to be film. Now cameras are all digital. So nobody yells lights, camera. They don't even really yell action anymore. They might, if there are background in the scene that they need movement before, they'll yell background action and then action, so they know when the principals have to start. But if everybody's starting together, the director will probably just go, okay, and they'll start filming. Quiet on the set? Not at all. If they want quiet on the set, they say, hey, all of you, shut the hell up. That's how it works. When they want quiet and they're ready to go, you'll hear everybody say, pictures up, and that means that they're ready to start filming. Everybody gets quiet. Another misnomer: camera adds 10 pounds. Not true at all. Camera adds 20 to 25 pounds. Juliana Margulies, she is thin as a rail. Kevin Bacon, same thing. I wanted to buy them pizza and a milkshake when I saw them on set. They're so thin. Acting's easy and actors are rich. Not true at all. I am continually awestruck by all the people out there that have their BFAs and MFAs that act. They have to memorize lines. They have to be able to sell a scene. They have to make you think that they are something that they're not and sell it. Absolutely wonderful. Couple that with 14-hour days, working 7 days a week, wearing bathing suits in frigid weather and wool coats in the summer, and it is a tough, tough job. And people might say that, hey, well, actors are rich. They make a lot of money, so what's the big deal? Yeah, that's true for the A-list actors, but it ain't true for the majority of actors. I sat next to one of the principals, didn't know his name, we're just chewing the fat. He's worried because he has a 2004 Jeep. He's got had to go into the shop. He's got to get his house painted and worried about how he's going to pay the kids' tuition, just like everybody else. So actors ain't all rich. Good looks equals stardom. That's not true at all. You've seen actors out there that they are, how did he ever get a job acting? It's the whole package. You need not the looks, you need a look, and mannerisms, and training, and perseverance. So that is a misnomer also. Not a glamorous job. You see a picture up in the upper right. Those are the factories that I was talking about in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Many of them have sound stages built into them. That's where you're going to film scenes. lower left, that's what they built inside one of those factories. It's an operating theater. It's a real operating theater. It has real instruments. It is absolutely cool. And again, you feel like you are transported into a different time when you walk into that factory and then walk onto that set. Back to the food. Is it real? Is it fake? Kind of all the above and something in the middle. Yeah, food is fake. Sometimes you get soapy water to drink. Don't drink the soapy water. I did it. Not a good idea. And they want to do that because soapy water makes it look like there's fizz in a particular drink. Is the food real? Yeah. I mean, I did some filming at the Montauk Club over in Brooklyn. The director said, that's real food. We want you to eat it. It was rack of lamb with all the vegetables. We want this scene to make it look like you're really eating, so really eat the food. Absolutely fantastic. Drinks. Wine is always grape juice, red or white. Scotch is always iced tea. And champagne is always ginger ale. And now for the middle. Sometimes that is real food on the set, going back to Blue Bloods, but don't eat it. Gotham City Grill we were filming at. Food's in front of us, appetizer course. I had a fantastic looking squash soup in front of me. Executive chef comes out and says, that's all real food, guys. Don't eat it. It's been sitting out for about 4 hours. So that's the deal with the food in a nutshell. The pick me piece. And that's, as I said, going back to the playground. You kind of want to get picked during dodgeball. You may not get picked. And there's going to be some rejection. And you know, it happens to everybody. So just hold on tight. You're going to get a shot. Sometimes it's just plain luck of the draw. PA will come in to holding. You three, come with me. Let's go. And you're featured in a particular show. And it's not always what you look like. It's the look. I got picked one time because I had a light gray suit on. Everybody else had dark gray suits. I was a contrast. That's the only reason I was picked. But you can do some things to make your chances better at getting picked. Always be professional, act like a professional. You're on a set. You want to be professional at all times. It's a job. Don't goof off. I've seen people who have kind of messed up their wardrobe or be sarcastic to the PAs. They don't get picked. They're kind of pushed to the back. Don't do that because they're the ones that are going to place you. And it's not like being a sycophant and, you know, oh, please, just being a professional. That's all. And it's funny, you'll see the older folks act like that, and it's the younger folks that tend to goof off. So I'm putting a plug in for older people like me. Got to be ready when you're called on, stay in your seat and holding. People just walk away sometimes, and then they're chasing them down, looking for them. Where's number 23? It's crazy, but it's nuts that they do that. And again, one thing that I want to put another plug in for, and I can't say enough, do student films. There is a little sub group of people there that are seen by big name directors, big name casting people in these student films. They watch them. That's where they came from. So do it, and you can put those on your reel, and that becomes your online resume, your body of work. So you definitely want that. And one last slide, and I'm trying to hurry up, and I apologize, folks. The Screen Actors Guild. It's a discussion on every single set that we go on. Do you want to join the union or do you not want to join the union? And it's very, very different. One of them is pay. Union members make more than double what a background actor makes. They always get to the front of the line, like I said. That's a little perk. Nobody's a jerk about it. But there are adders also. So like if you have to work in the rain, you get extra money for that. If you have to wear an appliance like a mustache, you get extra money for that. If you're in a scene where someone has to smoke, and those cigarettes, by the way, they're not real cigarettes. They're like some kind of herb cigarettes. They're absolutely horrible. It's not weed either. I've had them, and not that I would know what weed is. But you'll get more money for being in a scene with smoke. You also get health benefits as part of the union, and it's based on how much you work. Some of the downsides, though, to be in a union, actually that's a typo. It's a $3,000 one-time charge. You have to pay $200 a year in dues, and they take about 1.5% of your pay, up to $500,000. So there's a cost to being in the union. The other downside to the union is the first 25 people on any production have to be union. Everybody after that can be non-union. So when you look at labor cost, and when the production people look at labor cost, they're only picking 25 people for union roles. All the rest of them are non-union because, quite frankly, we're cheaper. And you can't get into the union just by saying, I want to be a union member. You need 3 vouchers, what they're called, or if you have a speaking role. And a voucher is, and this is always the new folks ask, what's a voucher? That is if you are chosen to work for, or work in a union role. I got a voucher once for a union role because I was a mourner, and I looked like I was a mourner, and they couldn't get anybody that was union to be a mourner. I got a voucher. I got union pay. I got money for a mustache. It was raining. I got extra money for that. But you cannot just join the union. You need vouchers or a speaking role. And again, being from IBM, I had to do a cost-benefit analysis. So if you're looking at a typical 12-hour day, union people are going to work less days a month than non-union people, or at least have the opportunity because of the 25-person rule. So yeah, you may be earning more, but you may not work as much if you join the union. I'll put in a strong plug for the union, if you are going to make this your chosen profession, or you are going to be doing this full time, like I plan on doing after I retire, absolutely join the union. But if not, you really got to weigh what's the cost, what's the benefit. So anyway, that's a wrap, folks. That's been my personal experience, and the net is it really wasn't all that difficult to get started, and it didn't cost me any money. Had a tremendous amount of fun and continue to have fun doing this. I'm going to be a prison guard next week and the week after as a role in a film, and I'll get featured. So, hey, that's great. You absolutely meet a lot of interesting people on the way. You meet very creative people. You meet very smart people. You meet very well-rounded people in acting. Most everyone is just like really cool, all the people. You get to learn the lingo, pictures up, roll sound, camera rolling, all those kind of things, what's crafty. So that's cool too. I use it at home with my wife, and she goes nuts. Just get out of here, get lost. But it's a very, very difficult job, and it can take a lifetime to master it, even with all the training and all the perseverance and all the talent that you have. It may take your entire life to master the job. But it's very, very rewarding if you can do it. And just remember, it's nothing personal. It's just business if you don't get picked. It is not your look, it's the look. SAG, you remember what I said? And, that's about it. Why don't we jump into the Q&A? I'll try and answer any questions you might have. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know, but I'll certainly follow up.
We have like 5 minutes, so I'm going to ask 2 questions. How's that? And then we'll close. But we do have a lot of questions. I want you all to know that if we don't answer them here, we will definitely have Kurt answer them, and we will send you a written thing of them, okay? So one question is, someone stood in line to audition for Cadillac Records and was told that from that one movie alone, you would gain enough points to join SAG because of the amount of famous actors and principals. Is there truth to that?
I don't believe that that's true at all, no. Okay. Nothing to do with points. You may get a voucher. That's what you need to join SAG, because you have to show SAG your pay stub that says you acted in a union role. So you're not going to get points. The production assistant may slide you into a union role because you have done something for them, something different, something unusual, in a role. So you'll get that voucher, but no, I doubt that very highly. That okay. You don't get points.
Next one. How do we find student films in the area? There has to be something better than Craigslist.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll send the links to the websites out. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't update. I have one chart updated.
You can give it to us, and when we send it up, we'll send that to everybody.
With all the links. But yes, there's absolutely different links to do student films, and you can go directly to the film departments in the college and make connections that way. I've done it. Hofstra is a good example.
Okay. This person wants to know, other than centralcasting.com, what were some other channels? But we have some that people actually brought up here and that you brought up. So we will send these. We will send these all to, we promise, by probably Friday or Monday. So just so you know.
Most definitely.
Okay. And let's just ask this one, because we have so many questions. Do you ever have to do any kind of improv during scenes?
Yes, they absolutely do ask you to improv. Some people, believe it or not, will get speaking roles from background actors because they have a particular look and they need to use them in a particular scene. Sometimes it's facial expressions that you need to improv. they'll say, here's what the scene's all about. We're doing a cesarean, case in point, we're doing a cesarean section for this woman. She's going to die on the table. I need some of you to, gasp in horror. I need some of you, because you're doctors, just to look at it, quizzically. And I need some of you to get up and do this. But so they'll give you direction to a point, and then they'll want you to improv whatever it is, whether it's speaking or whether it's mannerisms, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we have so many questions. We cannot answer them all in the next minute that we have, but the last one I just want to say is they said, would it be permissible for them to have a way to contact you? Do you mind if they email you? One person wanted to know, she would love to have your critique on her acting resume or something. Would you mind if someone?
Not at all. Be
Okay.
happy to do it. Be happy to share. That's all part of the give back. And like I said, the acting, the profession, what I've come across is everybody helps everybody else. Everybody helps everybody get a particular role, because it's not you competing against you. It's just kind of the look that they want. So it's not personal. So yeah, absolutely. I'd be more than willing to help. Just with the disclaimer, I am not a principal actor. I am not classically trained. I am just doing this based on my personal experience.
Okay, now, as I said, we still have a lot more questions that we haven't gotten, but it's time to sign off. So we're going to thank Kurt so much for this webinar. It was amazing. More questions than we've ever had in a webinar. So thank you all for attending. Thank you, Kurt, for presenting. We really appreciate it. And we hope we'll see you at further webinars. Yes, stay tuned for further webinars.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you all.
All right. Shout out to Artie again.